has been a big announcement that has been made by the government of India. This is with regards to the Sufi Corridor that is going to be set up across the length and breadth of the country, which the government of India says is going to invite and attract a number of pilgrims from the Muslim countries. Now, in wake of this development that has taken place, I have with me former Lieutenant Governor of Delhi, Najeeb Jung, joining me on the telecast. Good to have you, sir. And, I start my conversation with you regarding what your reaction and your view is on this big announcement of Sufi Corridor that has been announced by the government of India.
Megha, the more important thing for us to understand is how many people understand what Sufism is. It seems the flavor of the day for people to say that, Sufism is a very popular form of Islam. It is acceptable all over without understanding the basic ingredients of Sufism. I mean, the concept of fana, that you lose yourself in the Almighty. It's like a moth to a candle. The concept of zikr, that you constantly speak of the Almighty. The concept of sometimes asceticism. So while you have Sufis who are fond of music and dance, like Maulana Rumi or Hazrat Nizamuddin Auliya, you have an ascetic like Baba Farid, whose dohas are in the restricted Granth Sahib, and he was an extreme ascetic. So let's understand that Sufism is a very complex matter, and to say that anybody is a Sufi, so these days it has become fashionable to say that Sufis will bring harmony, and that reaction comes from what we see as a reaction to Wahhabi and Salafi Islam, which is of course much more rigid.
Yeah, now, you speak particularly about the Sufi saints, and in popular folklore, when we talk about Saint Kabir or we talk about Amir Khusro, these individuals, these saints, don't just appeal to the Muslim community. Like you said, the Sikhs, you talk about Hindus. Kabir ke dohe is what we used to study in our textbooks as well. What is the overarching ideology and the purpose of Sufism?
Well, that is what is the interesting part. That number one, please understand that there is no difference between a Muslim and a Sufi. A Sufi happens to believe in Allah and His Prophet. He goes for the same Hajj. He does the same 5 prayers. He has the same month of Ramzan, etc., etc. The only difference comes from a concept that he believes that he will lose himself in the Almighty. So there is no difference between him, isko kehte na fana karna, that you lose yourself and you constantly repeat the name of Allah or a mantra so that you forget everything else. And then from then comes absolute love for every living creature. So there is no difference. Khabare shahiru ishq sun na, I'm forgetting the couplet. It basically means that you forget yourself, and there is no happiness and there is no sorrow. It's all over, and that is what the Sufi is about. So to wear green clothes and to put on a turban and have a big beard does not make you a Sufi. It is the intrinsic love of Allah that has to be in you. And
can there also be parallels be drawn? When I take a look at Hinduism and the history of it, there are a number of saints, and top of the list, top of my mind comes Mirabai, and a similar ethos is played out in terms of praying the Lord and being so pure in the love of God that you forget everything else.
Well, Ramakrishna Paramhans, the biggest Sufi of them all. I mean, the love, the ability to forget himself in God. There is a famous story that walking in a field, Ramakrishna ji sees a flight of baglas flying off, and he faints because he sees a glimpse of God. in the same baglas that are flying away. Just as Maulana Rumi goes into a dance when he hears the simple tinkling of a pistol in a goldsmith shop. Now, that is the love of God, that you see and hear God everywhere. And coming to the more interesting thing, when you talked of the Sufi Corridor, Delhi by itself is the Makkah, is the home of so many Sufis who are buried here. Starting from Sufi Sarmat, who, by the way, was beheaded by Aurangzeb because he had lost himself so much in God that he said, I am the truth, An al-Haq, which was not accepted by a Puritan like Aurangzeb. And you have Nizamuddin Aulia, and you have Nasiruddin Ganj Shakar, and you have Qutubuddin Bakhtiyar Kaki, you have Khaja Baqi Billah. This is a Makkah of Sufis. So to have a corridor and for people to see that, to hear of them, and to go to Nizamuddin Aulia and hear the Thursday Qawwali, you faint. That is the love of God, and that is where the corridor can play such an important role.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And let me say that such corridors should not be funded by governments. Religious activities should be left to people who believe in that religion or accepting the teachings of those people.
Okay.
So
also, political will, when we go about, there has been a Buddha corridor that has been announced by the government. We talk about the Ramayana circuit, and we talk about now the Sufi circuit. The fact that, like you mentioned, Delhi is the Mecca of Sufism. The Sufi saints have been given the kind of prominence that perhaps has not been given across the globe. Isn't it only befitting to have this corridor? Yes, you may be correct in saying that the government should not get involved in this, but the kind of propagation that is required to gather these tall leaders from the Sufi world to come together and carry forward this vision for the world to then witness, and also get people across the globe to understand this concept, to revere the name of Lord through this concept.
Sufism does not believe in any tall leaders. God lies within you. The secret is to find God within you. So there are no tall leaders who will come. Yes, people will come, and people do come to visit the saints. People come from thousands of miles to go to Ajmer Sharif, to the Dargah of Khaja Muinuddin Chishti, where the Honorable Prime Minister has just sent a chadar in respect. Now, so people already come. The corridor will help in setting up these people and, of course, spreading their message of love. I truly think that we are overplaying this business of religious popularity. We should let things flow. The more important thing for us is right now education. Educate people into secular thought. But it's not a bad idea. Let people come. Let their coming be more convenient. Let them not be, pushed around by beggars and mendicants. Let them stay in a decent hotel and go to these places. It's a wonderful idea.
Okay. All right. But when you have so many religions in our country and people who believe and pray to different faiths, different gods, does this also reflect India's ethos of syncretic culture? Vis-a-vis when we take a look at other parts of the world, even in America, the percentage of Hindus, Muslims, Zoroastrians, the Jews is negligible to about 1 to 2%, and the Jews, and we talk about Parsis, is negligible to 0.00%. Vis-a-vis all these countries in the northern hemisphere or the southern hemisphere, does India become a global hub, or has the potential to become a global religious hub?
I won't go into the semantics of the language of being a global hub, but what I will say is that ours is a country which is a crucible of all religious faiths. We have had different religions for thousands of years. Even within Hinduism, there have been a number of streams. Then we had Buddhism, we have Jainism. And then came Islam and Christianity, and of course, then came the Parsis, which actually sought shelter in our country running away from Iran. And then we've had Jews. So, and the youngest of all religions, which I think is such a great religion, which is Sikhism. It is really the fount of all religions, which combines the best of all.
Yes.
So therefore, let's understand that we are the crucible. This term, Ganga Jamni culture, is a very small term. It is nothing compared to what we are actually. India is an ocean of religions. And the rivers come and flow into this ocean, and we have learned to exist peacefully.
Yeah.
So therefore,
fair enough.
Let's understand.
But does the world at large understand this about India and the syncretic culture it promotes and lives? Because when there are these views that are aired in the international arena that the minorities are living under fear, or there is Muslim genocide that is happening, which is far from the truth.
No, I would say that genocide is a very exaggerated word, but it is true that Muslims do have a sense of fear, that they believe that they owe a better deal, that a better deal is owed to them. We should not deny that. And therefore, they have sympathizers across the world who air their views. But India remains a secular democratic country. The Muslims have a right to make their voice felt. They have the courts here to go to. We just had the great example of Bilkis Bano fighting that case. So we have the alternatives. But to push it under the carpet and say everything is hunky-dory, that is incorrect.
Okay, making comparisons to the Hindu populations or the Buddhists, or we talk about the Sikhs who have been living under dire conditions in, say, Pakistan, or we take a look at Bangladesh, and the situation of these communities and people of this community, of this religion sects, is so dire that their population has reduced systematically from a healthy 7 to 8% that was at the time of independence, that at the time of partition in Pakistan, it has reduced to about mere 0.5 to 1%. Shouldn't there be a larger focus put forth into what is happening in Pakistan or what is happening in Bangladesh, or for that matter, the desecration, the destruction of temples, and even attack on the people of Sikh faiths, of Hindu faiths in United States of America. We talk about Canada.
Why should I compare myself with a failed country like Pakistan? Why should I compare myself with Bangladesh, which is an Islamic country? Why should I compare with countries which are not worth talking of? I am a very mighty power. India is going to be a very large economy. Let me talk of myself. And I look within, and there is scope to improve within.
Okay.
We are a great nation. We can improve further. And let's stay with that. And let's not make odious comparisons with countries that are not worth it.
Okay. You talk about Muslims living in fear in our country. When we take a look at a burgeoning Muslim population that has grown as the years have passed, as the decades have passed in our country.
That's not statistically correct. That's not at all statistically correct. You need to read some books on that. That's not at all statistically correct.
We have 25% of our population which is Muslim. And
there is 16% of the population is Muslim, not 35 or 25, whatever you are saying.
Okay,
it's 16%.
But keeping in mind also that this population has not reduced over the years. This population has increased.
Why should it reduce?
Over the years.
Why should it reduce?
And therefore my contention that how is it that there is quote-unquote Muslim genocide, or the Muslims are living in atrocious conditions in the country?
I have never used the word genocide. It's you who are repeatedly using a naive word.
Living in fear.
You are being naive in this. Of course, there is a degree of fear which you are hating to admit because you want your TRPs.
Not really. Not at all, sir. I'm carrying forward a line of question.
Your questions are naive. I did not use the word genocide. Others may have used it. I said that India remains a secular country. India is a democratic country. The Muslims do fight for their rights. They have a right to fight for their rights. But there is a degree of a sense of fear. And that is true. And let's not go to leading questions which you are trying to put to me.
Okay, all right. But then again, the very premise of me holding this discussion, taking the point that there is going to be a Sufi corridor that is going to be built in our country. And there is going to be attraction of global tourists, not just domestic tourists, to this corridor. And the idea that India is truly syncretic, that there are religions who are celebrated and revered in equal measure. Will this also not boost, will it also not be a boost to the Muslim community and the religion of Islam in our country and across the globe?
Let's see what happens. You are putting a question of an announcement that has been made yesterday. I said it's a great idea. Let people come. Let's see the impact it has on Indian Muslims, and let's see the impact on global Muslims. I think the Prime Minister is very wise in making this gesture. But let's see how it goes.
Okay. Can India be looked upon as a hub, as the harbinger, as the leading light of the world when it comes to religious harmony and prosperity? Vis-a-vis,
very naive question.
Vis-a-vis,
this is a very
I'm talking
naive.
about this. Of course, I want your opinion on it. But when we take a look at other countries of the world and build a comparison.
Baba, why do you keep comparing India with other countries? Why do you keep asking this naive question again and again?
Because I say this because there is a narrative that has been built, particularly in the West, that India is an Islamophobic country. Or we talk about the human rights violations of a particular community in the country. Or we talk about Hindophobia also that is being built up across the globe.
Look, please understand that you cannot give leading questions to me. You are a young person. I am not going to be led into answering stupid questions. I will tell you that we are a great country.
Me, with the kind of understanding I have, with the kind of news reports that I read up in the international arena, there definitely are these forces. Perhaps, yes. There are definitely are these woke forces, individuals, organizations, foundations that are working in a certain way to build a narrative of India that is far from true.
So what do you want me to say?
No, I'm just seeking your opinion on this matter. And how should India be working to get together to tell the world that that's not really the truth?
The world is very large. There will always be opinions and counter opinions. There will be appreciations and there will be criticisms of any system. I think that the Prime Minister is working towards creating an image where India becomes an international force. And to say that tomorrow the narrative that you speak of will go away, there will always be isms in the world. There is communism, there is fascism, there is capitalism. The isms always exist. People will speak like you are speaking. So therefore, let's not get into things which are unnecessary. You started this conversation with the concept of Sufism. I told you what Sufism is. I think that the idea of a corridor is wonderful. I also think that let people come and see how it succeeds or doesn't succeed. That time will tell. It's the announcement has just been made. We have to see the ground rules. We have to see the laws that will be made. We'll have to see how much effort is put into it. Let some time pass.
Okay. Quickly, a last question from you, sir, before I let you go. Does this also, in essence, an announcement such as this, allow for any kind of discord or hate or friction between communities in our country?
No, why? I think it's a wonderful initiative.
Yeah.
It's an initiative that brings communities together. Like I said, Sufism, without being understood in detail, is appreciated. That's a great thing. And so therefore, if people learn more about Sufism, if people learn more about God, if people learn more about losing themselves in God, if people realize that the secret of it all lies in keeping God in one's heart and in love and in compassion, then it's a wonderful idea.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, sir, for joining me on the telecast. So that was former Lieutenant Governor of New Delhi, Najeeb Jung, talking to us about the importance, the significance and very concept of Sufism and how that binds an individual, a devotee, to the personification of God that he truly becomes.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.